20. Hollywood brothers. You had no idea we're related. You've seen their faces on the silver screen. But what if we told you some of Hollywood's most iconic stars were secretly brothers? From Oscar winners to forgotten geniuses, these family ties were hidden in plain sight. One rose to fame while the other faded into history. And you won't believe who's related to who. Get ready to uncover the sibling connections that rewrote the story of Hollywood. Stay tuned until the end. It only gets wilder. Like, comment, and subscribe to Uncovered Tinseltown Uncovered for more shocking revelations from the world of entertainment. This is the video you didn't know you needed. Charles Christie. Al Christie Long. Before the rise of big-name studios like MGM or Warner Brothers, two Canadian-born brothers quietly laid the foundation for cinematic comedy in Hollywood. Charles Christie, born April 13, 1882, and Al Christie, born November 24, 1881, were the brains behind the Christie Film Company established in 1916. While Al specialized in directing and producing, Charles managed the business side of operations, ensuring the company's swift rise as a comedy powerhouse during the silent film era. Their films, often slapstick in nature, were praised for their clever visual gags and brisk pacing, helping define early American humor on screen. Al was considered a creative force, directing over 130 films by the 1930s, and worked with then-rising stars such as Harold Lloyd and Fay Tincher. Charles, though not a filmmaker, was instrumental in the company's expansion and financial management. Despite their innovation, the brothers' names eventually faded from public memory as larger studios dominated the industry. Their company shuttered in 1929 due in part to the shift from silent films to talkies and the ensuing financial strains of the Great Depression. Yet their legacy is undeniable. Together, the Christies helped establish comedy as a viable cinematic genre and pioneered the short subject format that would influence decades of filmmaking. Their story is one of early ambition, entrepreneurial risk, and sibling synergy that shaped the bedrock of Hollywood before being all but forgotten. Fred O'Connor. Donald O'Connor. Though the spotlight mostly belonged to Donald O'Connor, few realize his older brother Fred O'Connor was also involved in Hollywood, albeit behind the scenes. Donald, born August 28, 1925 in Chicago, was a prodigy of the Golden Age, best remembered for his energetic role in Singin' in the Rain, 1952, where his Make 'em Laugh performance became iconic. A singer, dancer, comedian, and actor, Donald brought dazzling physical comedy and heartfelt charm to screens throughout the 1940s and 50s. But Fred, the lesser-known sibling, was a quiet contributor to Hollywood's infrastructure. Though his work didn't include major leading roles or grand performances, he reportedly served in production roles and contributed in various uncredited support capacities during the early years of his brother's rise. As a family member involved in entertainment from their vaudeville roots, Fred helped navigate the professional world alongside Donald, providing logistical and moral support. Donald's career spanned multiple decades, with a brief decline during the late 1950s. Followed by television appearances and stage revivals in later years. Fred, meanwhile, remained largely out of the limelight, leading many fans to be unaware of the familial connection. The two shared a deep bond rooted in a family that experienced both hardship and resilience, including the tragic death of their father when Donald was just a toddler. The O'Connor brothers demonstrate how Hollywood success is often a combination of talent and unseen support. While Donald danced across stages and screens, Fred's contributions, though undocumented in credits, were part of the fabric that helped hold his brother's showbiz world together. Their story offers a behind-the-curtain view into a family where one star shone brightly and another quietly kept things moving. James Cagney. William Cagney. In classic Hollywood, few names commanded more presence than James Cagney. But what many forget is that his brother, William Cagney, was the key to his independence in an era dominated by controlling studios. James, born July 17, 1899 in New York City, rose to prominence through roles that balanced toughness and charm, His performance in Yankee Doodle Dandy 1942 even earned him an Academy Award. Often typecast as gangsters and rebels, James brought psychological depth and rapid-fire delivery to the screen, changing how male leads were portrayed. Behind this charismatic exterior stood William Cagney, born March 30th, 1905. William wasn't an actor, but a business-savvy producer who played a crucial role in managing James's career. As head of William Cagney Productions, he produced many of James's most successful films, including Blood on the Sun, 1945, and Kiss Tomorrow Goodbye, 1950. At a time when actors had little say in their roles or wages, William negotiated contracts and structured deals that allowed James greater creative control, a rarity at the time. Their partnership was built on deep trust. William shielded James from exploitative studio practices and helped him transition away from being under exclusive contract with Warner Brothers, a bold and almost unheard-of move in the 1940s. This freedom enabled James to pursue roles with artistic depth rather than studio mandates. Though James was the public face, William was the architect behind the brand. He kept the finances, scheduling, and business dealings running smoothly, allowing his brother to focus on the craft. The Cagney brothers were not just siblings. They were a team that defied the standard actor-studio hierarchy, creating one of Hollywood's earliest models for independent star power. Their legacy redefined how actors could navigate their careers with family loyalty at the center. Wallace Beery, Noah Beery Sr. Hollywood's early days were defined by unforgettable faces, and among them were two brothers who made their mark in radically different ways. Wallace Beery, born April 1, 1885, was beloved for playing tough guys with unexpected softness, while his older brother Noah Beery Sr., born January 17, 1882, gained fame for portraying compelling villains with a sinister edge. Few fans today realize the two were brothers. Wallace's most iconic role came in The Champ 1931, which earned him an Academy Award and cemented his image as a gruff but lovable underdog. His career spanned both silent films and talkies, and his physical presence, husky voice, and emotional range made him a consistent box office draw throughout the 1930s. He appeared in over 250 films and was for several years one of MGM's top-paid stars. Noah Beery Sr., meanwhile, took a different path. He specialized in playing the bad guy, a charismatic antagonist with depth and menace. He brought gravitas to supporting roles in The Mark of Zorro, 1920, and Beau Geste, 1926, often acting opposite leading men while quietly commanding scenes. Though never as widely celebrated as Wallace, Noah worked steadily across 3 decades and laid the groundwork for character actors who would follow. Their sibling dynamic is rarely discussed, perhaps because their screen personas were so contrasting. Wallace was a hero to working-class audiences. Noah was the man you loved to hate. But both shared an uncanny ability to disappear into their roles. Together, they helped shape early American cinema, one by pulling heartstrings, the other by tightening them with tension. The Beery brothers remind us that talent sometimes runs deep in families, even if it plays out on opposite sides of the moral compass. John Barrymore, Lionel Barrymore. Few families in Hollywood have a pedigree as rich and enduring as the Barrymores, and at the heart of that dynasty were two gifted brothers, John Barrymore, born February 15, 1882, and Lionel Barrymore, born April 28, 1878. While their sister Ethel also graced the stage and screen, it was John and Lionel who came to define two poles of Hollywood stardom: romantic leading man and complex character actor. John Barrymore, often referred to as the Great Profile, was the epitome of stage-trained elegance in silent and early sound cinema. With standout performances in Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde 1920 and Grand Hotel 1932, he set a high bar for dramatic transformation. His classical background and natural charisma made him a symbol of artistic credibility in an era when acting was still fighting for legitimacy in film. Lionel, on the other hand, carved out a separate path, one grounded in nuance, restraint, and gravitas. Though he appeared in numerous silent films, He became best known for roles like the cruel banker Mr. Potter in It's a Wonderful Life. 1946. Lionel's career longevity was remarkable. He acted well into his 70s even after being confined to a wheelchair due to arthritis. His adaptability made him one of MGM's most reliable character actors. Though they occasionally shared the screen, most notably in Grand Hotel, the Barrymore brothers' legacies are distinct. John's life was marked by theatrical brilliance and personal excess, while Lionel embodied endurance and craft. Their contrasting paths mirror the spectrum of early Hollywood itself, glamorous, yet grounded, tragic, yet triumphant. Together, John and Lionel Barrymore not only shaped the golden age of cinema, but also laid the foundation for what it means to be a Hollywood actor. Their brotherhood was a fusion of art ambition and timeless influence. Raymond Hatton, Gene Hatton. In the shadowy corridors of Hollywood's silent and early sound era, one name that quietly lit up hundreds of screens was Raymond Hatton, an actor whose face became more recognizable than his name. Born July 7, 1887. Raymond appeared in over 400 films, often cast as scrappy sidekicks, crusty cowboys, or quirky supporting characters. Yet behind this prolific figure stood a lesser-known brother, Gene Hatton. Gene Hatton didn't seek the spotlight the way Raymond did. Instead, he worked behind the scenes, quietly supporting film productions as a stunt double crew member and occasional extra, playing a vital role in the machinery of Hollywood's early growth. While few credits officially document Gene's contributions, film historians and industry records indicate he assisted in technical aspects of set building and production, particularly during the 1920s and 30s. Raymond's rise began with silent shorts before transitioning smoothly into talkies, something many actors struggled with. He gained lasting fame for roles in westerns like the Three Musketeers series and the Oregon Trail, often portraying wisecracking cowhands or mischievous townsfolk. His weathered face and natural comedic timing made him a beloved figure, especially in B-movie circles. What makes the Hatton brothers' story special is not fame, but dedication. While Raymond embodied Hollywood's tireless working actor, Gene was the industry's unsung support, never chasing stardom, but always near it. Together, they represent a kind of sibling success that wasn't about headlines, but about building the foundation of film from both sides of the camera. Tom Moore. Matt Moore, Owen Moore. The Moore brothers, Tom, Matt, and Owen, were among Hollywood's earliest success stories, each carving out a career during the rise of silent cinema. Born in Ireland, they immigrated to the U.S., and remarkably, all three became working actors in the fledgling film industry, a rarity then and even now. Tom Moore, born May 1, 1883, was the oldest and arguably the most versatile. He starred in The Great Accident 1920 and Beau Geste 1926, showcasing his ability to shift between romantic leads and dramatic roles. Matt Moore, born January 8, 1888, known for his expressive eyes and softer demeanor, appeared in over 200 films, including the silent horror classic The Unholy Three, 1925. His everyman charm made him a popular face throughout the 1920s and 30s. Then there was Owen Moore, born December 12, 1886, who may be most remembered today for being Mary Pickford's first husband. Yet in his own right, Owen was a celebrated actor in films like The Kiss 1929 and A Girl of Yesterday 1915, where he often played charming rogues and leading men. However, his career waned as talkies took over, and personal issues, including struggles with alcoholism, overshadowed his professional life. What binds the Moore brothers' story together is their shared origin in a time when Hollywood was more experiment than empire. They thrived in an era with no guarantees, relying on raw talent, adaptability, and family ties. While none may be household names today, their legacy is firmly etched into the bedrock of American cinema. Jack Davenport. Harry Davenport. In the golden age of Hollywood, Harry Davenport became the quintessential wise old man on screen, beloved for roles like Dr. Meade in Gone with the Wind, 1939, and Grandpa Vanderhoff in You Can't Take It With You, 1938. But what many don't realize is that Harry's talents ran in the family. His brother Jack Davenport also left his mark on early American theater and film, albeit with far less fanfare. Born into a family deeply rooted in performance, both brothers were exposed to stagecraft from a young age. Harry, born January 19, 1866, had an extraordinary career that spanned over 7 decades and more than 160 films. He was known for his warm, dignified presence and uncanny ability to portray authority figures or kind-hearted elders with a natural touch. Jack Davenport, though less prolific on film, was active in stage productions and early silent cinema. He often took on supporting roles and worked in repertory theater, contributing to a foundational period in American acting. Jack's work behind the scenes and on smaller stages kept him out of the Hollywood spotlight, but not out of the industry's evolution. Together, the Davenport brothers reflected a classic divide in fame. One brother widely adored, the other quietly essential. While Harry's name lives on through his unforgettable performances, Jack's legacy lingers in the quiet scaffolding of early Hollywood, where not every great artist made headlines, but helped build the industry just the same. Ralph Forbes, Lionel Forbes. British elegance and aristocratic charm defined Ralph Forbes, one of the most dashing actors of the 1920s and 30s. Born Ralph Taylor on September 30th, 1904, he starred in stylish productions such as The Green Goddess 1930 and The Mask of Fu Manchu 1932, often cast as noble gentlemen or romantic interests opposite stars like Greta Garbo and Joan Crawford. But few remember that Ralph had a brother, Lionel Forbes, who also tried his luck in show business, albeit in the shadow of Ralph's commanding presence. While Ralph enjoyed international fame and a celebrated marriage to actress Ruth Chatterton, Lionel Forbes struggled to find his footing. He worked in minor roles and backstage roles during the same era, but never attained the spotlight. Whether due to timing talent or the overwhelming comparison to his older brother Lionel, remained on the industry's fringes. Some film historians suggest sibling rivalry may have affected Lionel's trajectory. Others argue that the industry simply didn't have room for two British heartthrobs with similar looks and backgrounds. Still, Lionel's contributions, especially in theater and early sound productions, added quiet support to the family's artistic endeavors. Their story is a reminder that not every talented actor makes it big, even with the same name training and access. Ralph and Lionel Forbes offer a subtle, poignant glimpse into the nature of fame in early Hollywood. Sometimes it's about being seen, and other times it's about holding the stage door open for someone else. Buster Keaton, J. Harold Murray. Buster Keaton is a towering name in cinematic history, often revered as one of the greatest silent film comedians of all time. Born Joseph Frank Keaton on October 4, 1895, he was known for his stone-faced expression, daring physical stunts, and masterful direction in films like The General 1926 and Sherlock Jr. 1924. His fearless approach to comedy and cinema set a new standard for physical humor and storytelling. But what's rarely acknowledged is that his brother J. Harold Murray followed a completely different path into the world of musical theater. Unlike Buster, Harold didn't chase slapstick stardom. Born in 1891, J. Harold Murray chose the Broadway spotlight, dazzling audiences with his baritone voice rather than pratfalls. He became a sensation in the 1920s and 30s for his work in operettas and musicals, including Rose Marie and The Vagabond King. Though his fame never reached Buster's cinematic heights, Harold carved out a respected career in live performance and on the radio. The brothers' contrasting careers, comedy versus crooning, highlight a fascinating duality within the same family. While Buster was jumping off buildings and inventing cinematic techniques, Harold was charming theatergoers with his voice and presence. Their lives rarely intersected professionally, and they were often mistaken as unrelated due to their divergent styles. The Keaton-Murray connection remains one of Hollywood's best-kept secrets, a tale of two brothers whose talents enriched different corners of American entertainment. John Atwill. Lionel Atwill. Lionel Atwill, born March 1, 1885, is remembered as one of Hollywood's most chilling villains. His signature roles in films like Dr. X, 1932, and Son of Frankenstein, 1939, earning him a lasting legacy in the horror genre. With a commanding screen presence, aristocratic diction, and piercing gaze, Atwill was often cast as mad scientists, cunning detectives, or high society criminals. His on-screen persona was the embodiment of dignified menace, making him a staple in pre-code and golden age thrillers. What's lesser known is that Lionel had a brother, John Atwill, who also worked in the entertainment industry, but with a markedly different trajectory. While Lionel's career soared, John remained in the background, contributing to stage productions and working behind the scenes during the early sound era. His name rarely appeared in headlines, but his involvement was known within industry circles. Their sibling relationship remained largely out of public view, especially after Lionel Atwill's scandal in the early 1940s involving a perjury conviction tied to an infamous Hollywood sex party. The scandal seriously damaged his career and may have contributed to John's decision to maintain a low profile. Though Lionel's star power far outshone John's, their story reflects how fame can affect family dynamics in the entertainment industry. Lionel was a flamboyant icon of Gothic cinema. John, a quiet operator in the shadow of infamy. Yet together, they represent the unspoken dualities that shaped Hollywood's early mystique glory on screen and the untold lives just behind the curtain. Jack Clark. Bobby Clark. Before the rise of film giants, the world of vaudeville laid the foundation for American comedy. Few acts were as recognizable in this space as Jack and Bobby Clark, a dynamic duo known for their rapid-fire wit, exaggerated facial expressions, and inventive physical gags. Their act, often billed as Clark and McCullough, became a vaudeville staple in the 1920s and transitioned briefly into film during the early sound era. Jack Clark, the elder and more outspoken of the two, was famed for painting eyeglasses directly onto his face, an absurd yet iconic visual trademark. His fast-talking, wisecracking style kept audiences in stitches, often pushing the boundaries of satire and slapstick. Bobby Clark, meanwhile, functioned as the perfect counterbalance, quieter, more expressive in movement than in words. Although they were comedic partners, many didn't realize they were actual brothers. The myth persisted that their stage chemistry was simply professional. In truth, their bond extended far beyond the curtain, though not without its friction. As their fame grew creative, tensions began to emerge. Jack's dominant persona and ego often clashed with Bobby's more reserved demeanor. Their act flourished in short films and live performances, but gradually declined as tastes shifted and newer stars emerged. Despite their fall from popularity, the Clark brothers remain an important chapter in the evolution of American entertainment, bridging the worlds of vaudeville and early cinema with style, humor, and sibling rivalry that simmered just beneath the laughs. Stan Laurel. Ted Laurel. Stan Laurel, born Arthur Stanley Jefferson in 1890, became one half of the legendary comedic team Laurel and Hardy, famous for their timeless slapstick routines and impeccable timing. While the world laughed at Stan's bumbling innocence and rubbery facial expressions, few knew he had a brother, Ted Laurel, who also tried to carve a place in show business. Unlike Stan, Ted Laurel never found fame on the big screen. He dabbled in minor stage productions and behind-the-scenes roles often overshadowed by Stan's meteoric rise. Ted's aspirations were real, but his opportunities were few, and comparisons to his globally adored sibling made it nearly impossible to step out of the shadow. Some accounts suggest that Ted carried a chip on his shoulder, burdened by constant association with Stan's legacy. Others believe he accepted his place quietly proud, yet distant. While Stan became an icon honored with stars' statues and retrospectives, Ted's name barely made it into Hollywood records. His life serves as a poignant contrast to the glitz and recognition his brother enjoyed. Despite the disparity, their familial bond persisted. Stan often acknowledged Ted in personal correspondence, referring to their humble beginnings in northern England and their shared love of performance. Yet the world only had room for one Laurel in the spotlight. The Laurel brothers exemplify the bittersweet reality of Hollywood. For every star that rises, there's often a sibling whose dreams remain just out of frame. Ted may not have been a household name, but his story deepens the human side of one of comedy's greatest legends. Charlie Chaplin, Sidney Chaplin. Charlie Chaplin was more than a film star, he was a global icon. As the tramp, Chaplin embodied silent-era cinema, captivating audiences worldwide with his expressive eyes, bowler hat, and masterful blend of comedy and pathos. But behind this legendary figure stood a lesser-known figure, his half-brother Sidney Chaplin, a man who helped shape Charlie's career from the wings. Born in 1885, 4 years before Charlie, Sidney Chaplin initially pursued the stage on his own. But it was his move into film business management that defined his role in history. While Charlie wowed the world with groundbreaking films like The Kid 1921 and City Lights 1931, Sidney negotiated deals, wrangled finances, and helped form United Artists, the revolutionary studio Charlie co-founded with Mary Pickford and Douglas Fairbanks. Sidney also appeared in several early films, including A Submarine Pirate 1915, but acting wasn't his true calling. He thrived in the background, fiercely protective of his younger brother's genius. That said, Sidney's personal life wasn't without controversy. Rumors swirled about legal issues and wild behavior that occasionally threatened to tarnish the Chaplin family image. Their relationship was close but complicated. Charlie trusted Sidney's judgment, but also resented his attempts at control. As fame and pressure mounted, tensions emerged, though their bond ultimately endured. When Sidney died in 1965, Charlie mourned deeply, recognizing the man who helped turn a struggling stage actor into the most famous silent film star on Earth. The Chaplin brothers' story isn't just one of success, it's one of family loyalty, business savvy, and the heavy weight of genius. Douglas Fairbanks. Donald Fairbanks. Douglas Fairbanks was the original action hero of Hollywood. With his athletic prowess, dashing grin, and magnetic screen presence, he defined swashbuckling adventure in films like The Mark of Zorro, 1920, Robin Hood, 1922, and The Thief of Baghdad, 1924. He co-founded United Artists and was even the first president of the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences. Yet very few fans know he had a brother, Donald Fairbanks. Compared to Douglas's stratospheric rise, Donald Fairbanks lived in the shadows of Hollywood. Details about his life remain sparse, and for good reason, he never found his footing in the spotlight. Though he dabbled in minor roles and worked quietly behind the scenes, Donald's contributions were often relegated to studio margins. What is known suggests a classic case of sibling imbalance. Douglas's larger-than-life fame consumed the space their family name offered in showbiz. Donald, though present during many milestones, could never match his brother's charisma or opportunity. It's believed he struggled with this disparity, with rumors of quiet resentment lingering in Hollywood circles. Despite the lack of documented feuds, Donald's obscurity highlights the brutal nature of fame. Sometimes even talent and proximity aren't enough. Whether Donald lacked ambition or simply couldn't compete with Douglas's overwhelming persona, his story remains a bittersweet chapter in the Fairbanks family legacy. While Douglas Fairbanks is eternally immortalized as one of the founding fathers of Hollywood, Donald Fairbanks reminds us that even those standing nearest the spotlight can remain unseen. J. Arthur Rank. Fred Rank. In the world of British cinema, J. Arthur Rank stands as a monumental figure. Born in 1888, he was the driving force behind the Rank Organization, a film empire that transformed the UK's entertainment landscape during the mid-20th century. With the iconic Gongman logo and a distribution network that reached global audiences, Rank became Britain's answer to Hollywood moguls like Louis B. Mayer. But hidden in the shadows of his towering legacy was someone few knew existed: his brother, Fred Rank. Fred Rank, though never the face of the company, played a key role in helping manage and expand the family's flour milling business before the cinema venture took off. As J. Arthur pivoted into film production in the 1930s, Fred remained a steady but silent partner, offering support from the sidelines. Some accounts suggest Fred helped with financial and logistical matters in the early stages of their business expansion, though he deliberately avoided the limelight. Unlike his ambitious brother, Fred was a private man content to watch from the wings. He preferred not to court fame or deal with studio politics. As a result, his contributions were largely uncredited, but insiders knew the Rank family's success wasn't solely the result of Arthur's vision. It was also built on Fred's discretion, loyalty, and behind-the-scenes cooperation. While J. Arthur Rank's name became synonymous with British cinema's golden age, Fred Rank represents the often unseen foundation upon which legends are built. His story may not be etched in Hollywood's Walk of Fame, but without him, the Rank organization may never have become the global powerhouse it once was. Harry Warner, Albert Warner, Sam Warner, Jack Warner. The Warner brothers weren't just a studio brand, they were a family that forever altered Hollywood. Harry Albert, Sam and Jack Warner, born to Polish-Jewish immigrants in the late 1800s, rose from poverty to become pioneers of the film industry. Together, they launched Warner Brothers Studios in 1923, and by 1927, changed cinema forever with The Jazz Singer, the first feature-length film with synchronized dialogue. But behind their professional triumphs lay a volatile, often heartbreaking sibling rivalry. Harry Warner, the eldest, was the steady leader and voice of morality within the company. Albert Warner, often working in distribution, maintained the business's backbone. Sam Warner, known as the true visionary, championed sound-on-film technology, but tragically died the night before The Jazz Singer premiered. And Jack Warner, the youngest, was the ambitious, sharp-tongued showman who would eventually betray his own brothers to gain control of the studio. After Sam's death, tensions escalated. In a stunning act of corporate treachery in the 1950s, Jack secretly orchestrated a deal to buy back the company without informing Harry and Albert, effectively pushing them out. The betrayal shattered the family. Harry never spoke to Jack again. Yet despite their fractured relationships, their combined contributions to cinema are undeniable. From gangster films of the 1930s to Casablanca and Rebel Without a Cause, Warner Brothers became a cultural institution. This sibling quartet story reads like a Shakespearean tragedy: ambition, innovation, betrayal, and legacy, all tangled together. The Warner Brothers built an empire, but it cost them their brotherhood. Still, their names will forever be etched into Hollywood's foundation. Moe Howard Shemp. Howard Curly Howard. The Howard brothers Moe, Shemp, and Curly formed the beating heart of the Three Stooges, one of the most iconic comedy trios in entertainment history. Born Moses Samuel and Jerome Horwitz in Brooklyn, New York, their journey from vaudeville to global slapstick superstardom is a tale filled with laughs, loyalty, and hidden sorrow. Moe Howard, the assertive ringleader with the bowl haircut and sharp tongue, was the backbone of the act. His impeccable timing and unrelenting energy made him both the comic and business anchor of the group. Shemp, the eldest, was the original third stooge before leaving for a solo film career, only to return years later when tragedy struck. Curly, the baby of the family, replaced Shemp and quickly became the most beloved stooge. His high-pitched voice, unpredictable physical comedy, and catchphrases like "nyuk nyuk nyuk" turned him into a cultural icon. But behind the scenes, Curly's life was marred by health issues, alcoholism, and heartbreak. After a series of strokes, he was forced to step down, and Shemp rejoined reluctantly to save the act. Moe watched his brothers deteriorate while trying to keep the group afloat. Despite the laughs, the Howard brothers' story is one of family sacrifice and deep emotional bonds. Their humor defined an era, but their legacy came at a heavy personal cost, particularly for Curly, who died at just 48. Today, their slapstick brilliance is celebrated around the world, but few know the real story of the three brothers whose devotion to each other kept the comedy alive, even when the cameras stopped rolling. Al Ritz, Jimmy Ritz, Harry Ritz. Before the Marx Brothers became comedy legends, the Ritz Brothers. Al, Jimmy, and Harry were shaking up Hollywood with wild musical numbers, synchronized dance, and zany antics. Born into a vaudeville family in Newark, New Jersey, the trio found success in the 1930s and 1940s with their unique blend of physical comedy and musical precision. Harry Ritz was the creative center, often credited with inventing the group's fast-paced choreography and rhythm-based humor. Al Ritz, with his expressive face and high energy, played off Harry's cues perfectly. Jimmy Ritz, the most understated of the three, provided the balancing act, delivering dry wit and quirky timing that kept their routines grounded. Their comedic chemistry was electric, but it also became a curse. Unlike the Marx Brothers, who had distinct personas, the Ritz trio's similarity made it difficult for audiences to distinguish them individually. Critics claimed they lacked the solo identity needed for lasting stardom, and over time this blurred branding contributed to their decline. Despite appearing in successful films like The Gorilla 1939 and The Three Musketeers 1939, the Ritz brothers were ultimately unable to sustain their early momentum. Behind the scenes, they struggled with poor management decisions, shifting studio loyalties, and a rapidly changing comedy landscape. Their fall from prominence was swift, yet their influence is undeniable. Mel Brooks once called Harry Ritz the funniest man ever to walk on stage, and Jerry Lewis cited them as his primary inspiration. The Ritz brothers may not have achieved the immortal fame of their comedic peers, but their wild innovation and unfiltered silliness paved the way for many acts to come. They were pioneers in group comedy. Three brothers whose shared rhythm made audiences laugh even when Hollywood didn't quite know what to do with them. Groucho Marx, Harpo Marx, Chico Marx, Zeppo. Marx, Gummo Marx. Before there was Seinfeld, before SNL, there were the Marx Brothers, a whirlwind of anarchic comedy, unmatched wit, and sibling synergy that redefined humor in the early 20th century. But behind the scenes of this famous brother act was a complex, often chaotic family dynamic rarely seen by the public. Groucho Marx, the sarcastic intellectual with the painted-on mustache, became the face of their operation. His biting humor and rapid-fire wordplay made him a legend. Harpo, the mute clown with a horn instead of a voice, communicated through wild pantomime and harp solos, an oddly beautiful blend of slapstick and sincerity. Chico, the piano-playing trickster with a faux Italian accent, added musical flair and streetwise charm. Then came Zeppo, the straight man of the group who often got overshadowed but served as a stabilizing force in their films. Frustrated by always playing the normal guy, Zeppo eventually quit acting and became a successful talent agent. And finally, there was Gummo, the original fifth brother, who left the act before they hit the big time, trading the stage for business success and quietly supporting his siblings from behind the scenes. Their rise to fame was meteoric, with films like Duck Soup 1933 and A Night at the Opera 1935 cementing their legacy. But family tensions, gambling problems, particularly with Chico, and financial disagreements often tore at their bond. Still, their on-screen chemistry masked the drama and delivered laughter that transcended generations. The Marx Brothers weren't just a comedy team, they were a cultural phenomenon. And though their paths diverged, their collective impact remains unmatched. They were brothers in chaos, geniuses in harmony, and to this day, no one's ever done it quite like them. So now that you've met these 20 surprising Hollywood brother duos, we have to ask, did their bloodline help build their legacy, or did it bury some of them in the shadows of their more famous siblings? Family ties in Tinseltown can be a blessing or a silent burden. What do you think? Was it talent, timing, or sheer luck? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to Uncovered Tinseltown Uncovered, and ring the bell so you never miss the stories behind the stars you thought you knew. The spotlight isn't always shared equally.